Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Well, in today's video, it's a bit about venting and it's a bit about helping you to, well, hopefully improve your photography big time. So what's the video about today? Well, it's about changing cameras or changing camera systems. Now, this is something that I get asked constantly. People coming in here trying to sell me camera systems. And I'm not talking about one or two things, but I'm talking about like $5, $10, $20, $30,000 worth of equipment because they're switching to a new manufacturer or a new this or a new that. Now, at the end of this video, I'm going to talk about reasons why you should switch. But believe me, switching camera systems does not improve your photography as much as you think it does. I see it constantly. Sure, your new camera system may do something better today, but guess what? Tomorrow, the old camera system that you work with, the old manufacturer, has just surpassed the one that you switched to, and now you're stuck with the old technology, and now you should switch. The other problem is that you never get to know your equipment if you're not using it long enough. And I see this so often. People coming to seminars who are smart people, smart photographers who have been doing this for years, and they can't figure out how to do a basic thing because they switch systems so often. They just don't know their camera. They don't know their lens. They don't know this or that or the other thing. So people, don't keep switching. The other big issue is it's the cost. I know people who change their camera systems, and I'm talking they switch from one manufacturer to another more often than I change my socks. And I change my socks quite a bit, at least once a year if need to. No, I'm serious though. Come on, people. Stop switching just for the sake of switching. Sure, one system may be better today, but tomorrow somebody else's system is going to be better. The next day, somebody else's system is going to be better. I go online. I watch the sales on different sites, Kijiji, on Facebook Marketplace. There's several groups I'm with because people constantly contact me and saying, do you know anybody that's selling? And so I try to stay up with what's for sale. I see constantly on these sites, constantly, at least a dozen people every time I go on the site changing systems from one to another. The person who phoned me just recently asked me if I wanted to buy their system. They probably got $25,000 worth of cameras and lenses and accessories that fit only that camera. They want to sell everything. They'll take $10,000 for it. Some of their stuff is only a year old. Seriously, you're taking a $15,000 loss so they can switch to a different manufacturer. Not switching between DSLR and mirrorless. They're already mirrorless with this other manufacturer. They're going to switch from one manufacturer's mirrorless camera to another manufacturer's mirrorless camera because, and they gave me a list, nothing really applied to them. It was just the new cameras had new functions and features. It also costs so much money to do it. Not only won't you learn the camera systems if you keep switching, think of the money that you're going to spend. So, now that I've vented, when should you switch cameras? When should you switch camera systems? When should you switch lenses? Buy different lenses. Okay, here's some times when. First of all, if you have a camera body that's broken and you need to send it away to get it repaired, and that camera body is more than a generation or two old, it's probably time to look at buying a new camera body than to get the camera fixed. Perfect example the other day. Somebody came in, they broke their camera. They think they knocked it against something. One of the buttons isn't working, major button. And they wanted it fixed. And they says, well, how much is it going to cost, do you think? I says, just ballparking it. I says, probably $50 to ship it there. I said, I think they charge $100 or $150 for a quote. And I says, then if you get it fixed, they're going to charge you on top of that. And then the shipping back. I says, so just ballpark. I says, just ballparking it, $500. And I says, and that's probably low. And they sort of looked at me and went, oh. I said, how much did you spend for the camera? They says, when we bought the camera body, we spent $800. I says, and it's now 3 generations old. I says, I would spend $900 and buy the newest body and be done with it. And they says, yeah, I think you're right. If it's going to cost just about as much or even over half of what a new body is going to cost you, I would probably go for the new body if your old body is several generations old. You're going to see improvements. You're going to see better noise or less noise at the higher ISOs. You're going to find better dynamic range. You're going to find faster focusing. You're going to find better write speeds. You're going to find better video quality and other functions and features on the newer model over what yours is. It's not worth it. When would I get a camera repaired? Let's say you have an $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 camera body. It's only a generation old, if that, and it's going to cost you $2,000, $3,000 to get it fixed. I'd bite the bullet and get it fixed. If it's $5,000, $7,000, whatever more to get it fixed, or to buy a new one, I should say, over getting it fixed, it's just, in my opinion, not worth it. So if it's going to cost you just as much, time to buy a new camera body. When would I buy a new camera body, even if my old camera body was working fine? If anything changed majorly that you are now struggling with to keep up with. Perfect example. When I went to digital, I went to Fuji S1 Pro. Love that camera. The skin quality on it, everything was really good on that camera. I went to the S2 Pro when it came out. Great quality, everything was even better than the S1. It blew everything else in the market away. I waited for the S3, I waited for the S3, I waited for the S3 to come out. They kept announcing it, kept saying it was coming out. It never came out. Now, the issue with it was, back in those days, Fuji was using Nikon bodies, and Nikon didn't want to release their bodies to Fuji, and there was a huge fight. Well, this fight went on for so long that I started to notice that the newer cameras out there were better than the camera that I was using. And I finally had to make a decision whether I went with Fuji, which was meaning wait, whether I switched to Nikon or whether I went to Canon. I weighed everything and I decided to go to Canon. A couple reasons were that Canon had, at that time, faster autofocus. Canon at that time had a better selection of bodies. And Canon at that time was a camera that I was used to because I had switched from Canon film cameras to the Fuji digital, so I knew some of the Canon stuff. And in fact, I had still a couple of the Canon autofocus lenses that I thought may work on the new body. Side note, they didn't. One sort of worked, the rest I ended up just selling off. So I made the switch to Canon. Over the years, I've seen camera manufacturers blow Canon out of the water, and then I see Canon blowing those other camera manufacturers out of the water. So I've just set with Canon. I just stayed with Canon because there's really no need. But if something happened tomorrow and Sony or Fuji or Nikon came out with a camera that was so spectacular, so amazing that Canon could not keep up, or it was going to take a year or 2 or 3 years for Canon to get a body to do what I needed it to do, I would switch to a different camera manufacturer. But that would be the only reason I would do it. I would not do it if a camera manufacturer came out today and says, we can do this. Because I know in 6 months or a year, Canon's going to be able to do that. If it's a feature or a function that I don't need urgently, I would not switch. Just not worth it. If it was something that was holding me back big time, I would make the switch. If I needed a lens that Canon did not offer, and I needed it for a job next week, next month, next year, I would make the switch to a different manufacturer. There's a lot to consider when you change manufacturers. You are selling off lenses. You're selling off a lot of times filters. You're selling off a lot of time all your batteries, chargers. You're selling off a lot of time your flashes. There's a lot of stuff that you'll sell off when you switch that's going to cost you a lot more money to replace. That's one of the reasons that I haven't made the jump to mirrorless right now, is because I know I won't be happy with the lenses I have on the mirrorless camera. So I'm going to have to buy new lenses. I know that I need different cards. I know this. I know that. I know that the files are going to be bigger. I know this. I know that. And at this point in time, there's not a lot of need in my book to switch. So before you make the switch, before you jump back and forth, before you spend the money, before you reduce your knowledge of your equipment because you don't know your equipment as well when you keep switching, really consider it. There are times to change, really there are. But a lot of times when people are changing, they're doing it for the wrong reasons. So until next time, have a great day. Get out there and take some amazing pictures with the equipment that you have, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye now.